sort of breakfast do you call that?
Healthy heating. My God, you got enough there?
Yeah.
Porker.
Lovely, isn't it? Ah. Well, it's an important part of winter fishing, isn't it? That's my
Bit early
excuse
for me.
anyway. I've overdone my burgers a bit. Slightly burnt.
Lovely.
Well, it's certainly a good choice of water.
The wind's dropped, so I'd like the wind to pick up a little bit.
Low pressure tends to be better in the winter, doesn't it?
That's right.
So, how many years have you been winter fishing? Longer than me, haven't you?
Well, I've been actually carp fishing since 1969, so I like winter fishing. Try and choose a heavily stocked water. Don't worry about your size of your fish so much, and just enjoy yourself, really.
Yeah, I agree. I did speak to somebody once who thought it's worth staying on fish meal baits through the winter if they've baited heavily all summer and are catching well, to carry on using fish meal in the winter, but mainly just hook bait.
Yeah.
The fish recognise it.
Right.
But it's not a very good thing, is it, coming in with fish meal in November and trying to get the fish going? It doesn't work so well.
Well, with fish meals, obviously you've got a very high oil content. In the summer it's great because the oil releases, but in the winter the oil will solidify, so therefore it won't be a very good attractor for the fish. You can tell that just by casting a fish meal bait out. Upon rearing it in after a couple of hours, you can't smell a thing.
Tell us about the rigs you're using at the moment. Exactly what are you doing?
I'm on mainly pop-ups I use in the winter because I think it's better rig presentation with the hook out, obviously.
What length, hook length?
About sort of 10 to 12 inches, something like that.
Running lead or fixed?
I normally go for running leads because I find that you tend to see more, you can tell what's going on in the water more if you're getting twitches, etc. So you can bring your bait closer in. Obviously with fixed leads you're not going to get that. I normally use about 1.5 inches here. Most people really go tight nowadays, so I tend to come off of that idea and sort of use a longer hair.
It's no good experimenting, you've got to use what you know works, haven't you?
That's right.
What you're confident with, because you could sit here for 2 days without a bite and you could easily think, I'm using the wrong rigs, when in fact you might not be. It might just be a fact that the fish aren't feeding.
That's right. Worst month out of a lot, I think, is sort of January, February, winter fishing. But it's always worth going out because there's always a chance.
Most of my best catches have been in the winter.
Right.
I've had my personal best mirror in the winter, over £40. I've had my personal best common from Redmire, over £30 in the winter. I've had my best hauls of fish. It doesn't make sense. Trying to keep dry is a problem.
That's right.
In the summer, I wouldn't normally use a brolly like this, but in the winter I think it's very important because once your bedding gets wet or your clothes get wet, you're in trouble, aren't you? Did you say you're using pop-ups?
Yeah.
That's interesting because I'm using sinkers.
That's right.
On all rods, and I wanted to compare the difference. And you've had slightly more action than me, haven't you? So what I think I'll do after breakfast, I'll change to pop-ups and just see if it's going to make any difference.
Right.
Whoops. I'm going to try just cast into some different spots actually. Put a fresh bait on. I've got a pop-up on this one. Sometimes just casting around the lake, you can drop the bait right on the fish's nose. I've got a pop-up I've had in soak here, and this thick, creamy dip. Looks a bit of a mess, but as I'm not going to put any free offings around it, I'm going to have a nice strong hook bait, which hopefully the fish will find nice and easy. The smell is absolutely gorgeous. The hair I'm using on this one is just, in fact it's the same material as the hook link, it's Octasplice. I've tied it onto a piece of tubing on the hook which enables me to move the tubing up and down the hook. But that is a typical position that I normally anchor the hair. It's a Partridge Z15 boilie hook. And there's just a loop in the end of the hair there. I'm just going to put this pop-up on here. Just put the boilie stop, which I've left here, through the loop. I like to push the stop just into the boilie a bit. Some people leave it sticking out, but I prefer it nice and flush, so if the fish is playing with the boilie, it doesn't feel anything sharp. And as you can see, the hair's coming off at the bottom of the shank. Got a little shot on there, just to anchor the pop-up down. It looks like it might have moved slightly, so I'll just check that. That seems okay. And it's a fixed lead. In fact, it's a semi-fixed lead. It's tight on a piece of rubber which is pushed over the swivel. My normal favourite method. It will pull off if the fish gets snagged or the main line gets cut. 2 ounce lead. I'm fishing fairly sensitively at the moment. 8 pound main line, which I wouldn't normally use for carp fishing, but I think in the winter you want everything on your side. And Mick tells me that the fish are quite sensitive in this water. They don't like lots of activity on the bank and big leads crashing in on them and heavy lines across the swim. So I've scaled everything down. Anyway, I'm going to put this into a different spot. Right, I'm going to put this about 2 or 3 rod lengths to the left of where I have been fishing, about 3/4 of the way across the lake. I would imagine that's 10 or 12 feet deep there. It's interesting, the depth of this water. It does go down to over 25 feet in one area. Right, just put the swinger back on. I'm fishing quite sensitively. Let's say 8 pound line and light leads. I've also got the swingers set so that they're not very heavy at the moment. They're quite light in weight. And the good thing about the Fox Micron is that you can adjust the sensitivity of it. Now normally I have it quite insensitive, so 2 or 3 inches of line has to go per bleep. But on this session, because Mick tells me, and we have actually experienced it, the fish are just touching the baits and letting go again. We're just getting odd, tiny little bites. So I've got it set on the most sensitive, so I'll switch that on, and you can see, if we pull the line, just how sensitive it is. Lots of bleeps. So the slightest touch on the bait and we'll know about it. Looks like we're going to have a good day, doesn't it?
Terrific start.
You've already had a 20.
Yeah, I think this will surprise you.
It's not fighting like a big fish.
Yeah, my one didn't though, did it?
No, don't think it's a big one.
Probably cold.
Yeah. Some of these winter fish, they don't if they haven't been hooked for a while, they don't know what's happening, I think.
That's right. I'll fight now.
No, I just got a glimpse of it then.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
In bronze.
It's going all over the place.
Come on, I'll bet you.
It's a lovely colour.
Yeah.
Looks an orangey colour. You're
Yep,
right.
the colour.
How did you know that?
The way they fight.
Looks a good one, doesn't it?
Lovely
Do you think it
colour.
might be 20?
Yeah, I hope so.
They like the old cream iron 30 boilies, don't they?
Certainly do.
Look at that. No, it's not a 20, but it's a nice fish.
Oi.
Lovely. I'll get the unhooking mat.
Oh, bar. 15, 6, 15 and a half.
15 and a half fish,
Yep.
yeah. Lovely.
Can't be bad.
Just have another look at him. Great. Oh well, if we don't catch anything more, we can't complain, can we?
Right. That baiting up's paid off.
Just starting to get the winter colours,
Yeah,
aren't they?
that's right.
He's a bit lively, we'll see. See if we can hold her. God, that water must be cold in the lake. This fish feels very cold.
That's right.
Look at that, beautiful. What did we say it weighed? 15 and a half?
About 15, 6, 15 and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
Jumping a bit.
Right. Put it back. I think I can risk not putting it in there.
It seems calm enough, doesn't
In
it?
the sling to get it back.
Well behaved.
Yes!
Kev.
Oh. Taking a little bit of line. Yeah, I think this is probably a better fish. Another cold water carp. Thought we were going to take line then, but it didn't.
Oh, yes.
Oh, lovely.
Mirror. Oh, that's a nice fish.
Is it a good one?
Yeah, looks it. Starting to fight now.
Yeah. Is it a 20, do you think?
I don't know, it looks, that's 17, 18ish.
It's going well. It's fighting well. I'll be
broad.
surprised if it's not a 20.
Nice fat one.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a 20, isn't it?
It looks it.
Good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Ow. Where's the meat, Matt?
If you hold it
Yeah, I've just got her here.
over here, yeah.
Yeah, do you want it here a little bit? That's it. Oh, yes.
Oh, it's a good 20, isn't it?
It's a cracker. Oh, yes. Lovely. 21 odd.
Is it? Lovely, good. You off the ground, yeah. 21 and a half, is it? Or just under?
21.6.
21.6, I reckon. Just hold it there. Nice and steady.
Yeah, go on,
Yeah? You just check it for us.
at 21.6, yeah, 21.4,
Yeah.
21.6. Yeah, lovely.
That's a
Can't be
nice
bad.
winter fish, isn't it?
Two winter twin.
Perhaps you can get my camera, can you, and we'll take some pictures?
Yeah.
Get us both in. Very nice shot.
Beautiful
Lovely.
camera, Kev. Want to turn around, mate?
Yeah,
I tell you, always have a bucket of water, keep them nice and wet, you know?
yeah.
If I told you the weight of that fish, you wouldn't believe it when I first put it in. That was £13.5 2 years ago.
Yeah,
That's
so they're growing well then.
yeah.
They're very lively to hold, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm not
You
used
feel
to
they're
it.
going to flick out your hands
right.
at any moment. What
Was
did we
that
say it
all
was?
right?
21 what?
21.6, mate, 21. Yeah.
I'm glad I got this new fox
That's
suit
right,
on.
yeah. Slime suit.
This is a tube of their specialist rig glue, and what you can do with this is it's obviously got many uses, but I'm going to show you how I fix the lead putty now. I'll put a dab of this actually on the multi-strand, because that's where I want the weight. So we'll just put some of this on here. Like so. Okay, now they also do a small bottle of what they call Octogel activator, and you put a dab of this on the glue, which I'll do now, and that makes it set very, very hard. You just dab that on there, a couple of drops, and you have to wait a few seconds for it to go very hard, and I'll just screw the top on while we're waiting for that to go off. Now obviously these two things have got many uses. If you're using a running lead that you want to stop up the line to make it a fixed lead, you can use it for that, but in this case I'm now going to put the Kesmark ballast around the stop. I think that's now set. Just check it. Yeah, give it a couple more seconds while I just get the ballast ready. This is very, very heavy, this, excellent, and all you've got to do is mould that around the stop like so, and obviously depending on how buoyant the pop-up is, you would take some of this off or put more on. Now there's no way that can move. That is absolutely solid on that line, and that's one of the problems you do get with metals, is when you're casting they can slip up and down the hook link. So Kesmark have come out with some really good products, and that is the actual rig that I've been using. So that sits on the bottom like that, giving a sort of a bent hook affair, and then it's just attached to a fixed lead. Right, where were we? Yeah, 22.5 a day. Lovely, well done.
Beautiful.
Smashing. 22.5.
Lovely. Flash gun.
Yeah, take some uprights. Yeah.
Nice background as well.
How's that?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Lovely linear scaling on it. Quite a long fish, isn't it?
Yeah.
One more of this side and then we'll turn it round. 22.5 pound of cold water carp. How's that?
Lovely. She's got a bit of mud on her belly, but still. She's behaving lovely.
Yeah. Fish like these make those winter trips well worthwhile, don't they? All right.
Smashing.
Okay, back it goes.
Some nice shots there.
All right, my fella. There it goes.
During colder months, it may be necessary to cast extra yards to find those elusive fish in deeper water. This is Phil Hyde, a beach casting specialist, offering some useful tips for the carp angler.
As a sea angler, I've come here today to try and help carp fishermen to reach distances that they've never been able to reach before. First, a word on safety. A lump of lead in the wrong hands can be extremely dangerous. So we use a shock leader to ensure that we are aware of our fellow human beings and not going to do them any damage. As a general rule, a shock leader should be at least double the length of the fishing rod that you're using, and it needs to be around about 10 pounds breaking strain for every ounce of the lead that you're using. Today we're using a 2 3/4 ounce bomb, so I've got 30 pound breaking strain, high visibility leader. Anglers in the 60s and 70s were guided by a gentleman by the name of Leslie Moncrief, who devised this particular method for use with very soft and in some cases reverse taper rods. It might work with a reverse taper rod, but today we're using modern fast taper equipment, and this method doesn't work with fast taper rods. As you can see, if I try and load the rod from here, we don't get much of a bend. Now if we move the lead inside a tip of the rod and put the same amount of effort in fact half the effort, as you can see I'm just holding with one finger with my left hand, as you can see we bend the rod. If we can bend the rod, we can cast with it. Thank you, Bob. So now we've prepared for the cast. We've got a length of line between the rod tip and the lead of 6 feet on this 12-foot rod. My feet are now placed roughly at 45 degrees to the direction I want to cast. I now put the bail arm over and I swing the lead gently inside and underneath the rod so that the lead is in between the rod tip and the backs of my heels. The rod is held slightly extended and well away from my body. It's not held close in, it's held well away with my left hand in front of my right shoulder. The target is not the horizon. The target is approximately 45 degrees up in the air. This is the big mistake that people make. They think that the horizon is where they're aiming for. Where they need to aim for is up in the clouds. So, without further ado, we're all set, ready to go. On the ground, the bail arm's over, left hand in front of right shoulder, held well away, head round, looking up, cast. Approximately 140 yards with no effort at all. Having shown you the medium fast taper rod and a fixed spool reel, I'm now going to demonstrate while the average British sea angler uses a multiplying reel instead of a fixed spool. For this we're using a rod capable of casting the same amount of lead but as you can see, it's a much tippier action, and the reel I'm using is a 20-year-old multiplier made in Sweden. The reel is fitted with a level wind mechanism, it's fitted with a centrifugal brake mechanism inside, and it's also fitted with what's known as an end cap adjuster. The same method of casting can be used with this as with the previous rod, i.e. the simple high inertia off the ground cast, but in this particular case I'm going to show you a simple pendulum cast. Now all the pendulum casting is going to do is to put the lead in the air above where we had it on the ground. That is all there is to pendulum casting. The main problem is actually learning how to swing the lead in the correct direction and to keep it going. Now a lot of people have a lot of difficulty doing this, so I've devised a nice easy method. If you get yourself set up for the off the ground cast, so, and then push down towards the ground with the left hand, the lead will flick out in exactly the right direction. I'll show you that again. Lead on the ground as if we're doing the off the ground cast. Get yourself set up, and then with the left hand push the rod butt straight down towards the ground, and that will flick the lead out in the right direction. Allow it to swing back until it's reached a point in the air directly over where we had it on the ground, and then follow through from the off the ground cast position. And we'll now show you that in one easy movement. So lead on the ground, push down with the left, out flicks the lead, back it comes, and out she goes. Judging by the line level, about 180 yards. Right, we've shown you how to do it. Let's go and show some carp anglers how to do it.
Well, the conditions we've got now spell out some of the problems that we've got in long-range carping. I'm fishing at a range of 80 to 100 yards across the wind. It's difficult getting the free offerings out there in these conditions, and at the moment I'm fishing with 18mm boilies, which are the easiest to fire out to that sort of distance. But the escalating problem that you get on carp waters all over the country is that the fish are becoming very wary of baits of that size, and they're inspecting them individually. Now, more and more I'm going for smaller baits, not because I want the single bait out to the horizon, but purely and simply because with the powerful rods and the long range casting and using PVA stringers, I can achieve a degree of preoccupation way out there where the carp isn't expecting to find a cluster of baits. He might associate danger with a single bait, but he isn't looking for that source of danger in a cluster of baits together. And the smaller you go on bait, the further you can get, or the more baits you can get together way out there. All right, Phil?
Yeah, wonderful. Righto, Tim, let's see what you can do with one of these things, and we'll take it from there.
I'll have a prod under your expert eye.
Well, we just want to see what you can do to start off with.
I'm just knocking it out onto the baited area against that pine tree you can see in the background there. This is 2.5 rod and 3 ounce lead.
It's a straight overhead cast, which is obviously what you've been using for quite some time.
Well, it is, that's right, yeah.
I think we can improve somewhat on that. What we'll do is we'll initiate you into what we call the high inertia technique, which is basically keeping your bait and lead inside the arc described by the tip of the rod. At the moment, your lead and bait are just following the tip, whereas if we use a high inertia technique, we can actually pull the tip right round and preload the tip. It's quite startling when you see it done. It'll blow your mind.
Right, sounds very technical, but if it'll get me casting further, we'll have a go at it.
The main thing to remember is what we're aiming to do is to get you casting just as far with minimum effort.
Right.
That's the essence of this.
Yeah.
So that if you do need to open your shoulders, it will go further.
Right.
But the idea is minimum effort, maximum distance.
fine.
Okay?
Okay, we'll have a look at that.
Right. Now this particular method, Tim, utilises the weight, and we're putting the weight in the centre of the arc described by the tip of the rod when we cast. Now what that will do is preload the tip of the rod, pull it right the way around into its casting arc with no effort at all. Now the old-fashioned methods used to invoke putting the lead outside the arc of the rod and pulling through, but in fact it doesn't actually bend the rod, as you can see. Now this high inertia method puts the lead inside the arc of the rod, and as you can see, with minimal effort, I'll just use one finger, we can pull the rod into compression against the inertia of the lead weight. So to cast, all we need to do is have 3 fixed points. First fixed point is the rod tip. The second fixed point is the lead. The third fixed point is the back of my left heel. So we stand semi-facing the water where we want to go. We've got the rod tip down, lead in the right place, heel all nicely in line, bail arm over, and now we want a left hand in front of the right shoulder, and lift the left hand as high as it will go, turn your head and look up roughly 45 degrees, always look up there, and then cast.
Easy as that.
And you will notice there's no effort at all involved.
I see that.
Now it's your turn.
Right.
And because it's you, we'll make you wind it in. Righto, get yourself set up with your 3 set points.
Right. You'll have to talk me through this again.
Okay, so bail arm over, that's the first thing.
First?
Yeah,
Right.
bail arm over, right.
Want the
Lead
on
on the
floor.
ground, right now.
Right.
If you shuffle up, that's it, keep going, till the rod tip's
Right.
right on the ground.
Right.
That's it, now we want the rod tip and the lead and your left heel in line, so move your left foot back, bit more, literally shuffle yourself round that way, that's the way. Right, left hand nice and high, left hand in front of right shoulder. Right, you know where everything's coming from.
Do that again, left hand in front of right shoulder.
Left hand in front of right shoulder.
In front of it, this side of it.
That's it,
Yeah.
that's it, and keep it well away.
Right.
Keep that line nice and tall, that's why you keep it on the ground, you see. Right, now you can turn your head,
Right.
everything's set.
Yeah.
You can look up there, which is where we want it to go. Okay, and away you go.
Right. Look at where I'm aiming, look up there.
That's it, and that's where you want the lead to go.
That was in the air a long time.
Results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
What's
Right now, I don't think my position was quite 100% comfortable then, but
well, it's not designed for comfort, it's designed for doing
right.
the job.
How's that then?
That looks quite comfortable. Right, and now you turn your head,
Right.
and away you go.
Look at the sky. Throw it there.
That's it,
Right.
lovely and straight, look at that.
Even managed to follow it this time.
There you are. How's that?
Yep.
Was that easy or was that easy?
Very, very easy. Very easy.
Now you notice that although we're not coming from your old overhead, you'll notice that direction doesn't suffer.
That's right. Yeah.
If you need to change direction, I see so many people getting ready and they're trying to cast over there or they're trying to cast over there without moving the feet. With this cast, what you need to do is to go and practice it so that you can get your directional accuracy from there. Then if you want to cast that way, you shuffle your feet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
If you
Well, you've got to maintain that line, haven't you? You're
That's
casting through a straight line.
A
Yeah.
good analogy is if you've got a tank and want to shoot, you don't bend the barrel to shoot over there. You turn the whole lot.
Right.
In this case, you turn your feet.
That was a long way. That's a lot of winding in.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what you came here to learn. And what we've got to do now is apply this to your carp fishing. Rightio, we'll have that in. Give it one more go. Right, we've set up 3 set points, correct length of drop, left hand in front of right shoulder. We know where it's coming from. Now if we turn ahead, look where it's going. Up there, not the horizon, and away we go.
Line it up.
Oh, that looks fine. That looks fine. Right, I'll leave you to get on with that. Have a few practice casts. Go and see how Clive's getting on, and I should be back in about an hour.
Okay, good luck.
Ah, just in time, Clive.
How's Tim getting on?
Oh, he's not doing too bad over there. We've set him up with the off the ground cast, and we've left him to his own devices for about an hour.
Right.
Let him play about with that. Now, you've already done a bit of off the ground.
Yeah, I've already got that one.
So what we're going to do now is to get you to transfer what you already know and turn it into the simple pendulum cast.
Right.
Okay? But what we're doing now is we're going to transfer this to the pendulum cast.
Right. We're
using a longer drop.
Yeah, we've used a longer drop for a specific reason. As you come round in the cast, so we need to wind the rod up even further, and we're utilising the idea of holding the lead right smack bang in the centre of this circle that we've created.
Right.
And you can see this working. If you stir a cup of tea with the froth on top, the froth always stays in the middle. It don't go to the edge, it goes to the middle. So we want the lead to stay in the middle of this big sphere that we're creating with the rod tip for as long as possible. So the rod bends against the inertia of the lead. Then as we carry on round, so the lead will start to move out and round, and by that time you'll have turned to face the water, the rod will be well bent, and the energy that you've stored within the rod will literally catapult the lead out where we want it to go. But the first thing we've got to do is to get the lead in the right position, and the right position for that lead, for this type of cast, is to get it roughly up here in the air.
Right.
Okay, so what we do now is we push down with the left hand.
So it's up into that position with the off the ground
That's
cast.
it, yeah.
Line tight.
Push down with the left hand and the lead will come out to about here. That's good. Let it climb.
Yeah.
That's it. Now that was fine. Now we'll do that again, because it needs emphasising that particular method of getting the lead to swing should be practiced. Okay.
Okay.
And until you've got the hang of it, you can actually do this in your back garden. You don't need a bit of water to do it. You can practice that I mean, don't go casting, or you'll find sort of people 300 yards away will be complaining about leads through their
so on the line
panes.
parallel with the direction we want to cast.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
That's great. So push down with your left, out she comes, let it climb. That's lovely. Well, that's the easiest 150 yards you've ever cast.
Without a doubt.
Absolute doddle. Let's have a look how much line's left on the spool. Yeah, we can see the backing. We started off with 220 yards and £9 on there, and we can see the backing through it. So
allowing for the drift. So
you've taken a lot of line off. Try it again. Wind in.
I'll have another go. Well, I'm obviously getting increased range, Phil. How am I going to sort out the direction?
Well, now you've learnt how to sling it a long way, what we've got to do now is to concentrate on your feet positions.
Yep.
Okay, now if you imagine that this rod is the direction from the feet being there.
Right.
All right, you mustn't try and do what so many people do, which is try and change the direction by casting in a different direction, because that will completely cobble up what you're trying to do.
Yep.
What you must do is do what the tank turret does, which is swivel.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I want to go towards that swan there, I'll swivel my feet, I'll start from back here, cast. Conversely, if I want to go that way, then I'll turn my feet and cast that way. Okay, so there's no problem with direction. Everything comes from the feet, okay? Once you've practiced the cast and you know where your leg goes for your feet positions, from there on you can then adjust to whichever direction you want to go, and that will give you the accuracy you want. Yep, got it. Yes. Oh, that's a better fish. That's a better size. You want me to take your rod?
You take the rod, Phil, please. Hoist him up onto the grass at the top. That's almost a fully scaled.
But it's just like a mirror, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it hasn't got the
It is actually a mirror cup.
Yeah.
But virtually fully scaled. See that leech on it?
Oh yes. Take them off or leave them on?
Yeah, take them off.
Rightio, let's get them in the waist now. You put it away and then back to the water.
You could just keep the hand in and out of the way.
Yeah, okay. If you'd like to step over. Okay, baby, won't be long.
Okay, well these are nice, these unhooking nets and wave sling combinations that we've got available these days.
With a fish like this, what's it worth? It's far more in the water than on the fishmonger's slab, obviously.
Absolutely. 15 and a half.
That'll do nicely. Right. Right, baby. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll see you again next year.
Lovely colours that. Orange, isn't it?
Just hold them upright while they recover, or if he wants to go, you let it go.
It should be alright. Nice fish.
Beautiful. Now, what I'm going to show you, us sea fishermen tend to get a bit paranoid about shock leaders and safety.
Yeah.
Now, this is nice and yellow, so we can see what we're doing. I'm not asking you to use bright yellow for carp fishing. Obviously, some people shock horror. Right. Now, this one's a knot that was invented 20 years ago by a chap by the name of Dennis Darkin, who was a well-known Kentish carp angler of the time.
Right, yeah, I know the name.
Same time as Jerry Savage and one or two others down in that neck of the woods. Now, what he suggested was to tie a double
Overhand knot.
That's it, a double overhand. Put it through twice.
Yeah.
Pull, and it turns over.
And there's your figure of 8 there, yeah?
Yep. Through there. Through there. Finger in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Through there. Around the back. Back through the way we came. 1, 2. Pull on the short end to form the knot. Bit of lick. Now, having got the knot set in the area we want and everything going in the right direction, now you can see this tightening up. Pull again on the short end. Away we go. There we are. See it tighten?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Did you get that?
Yeah. It's one you'd have to practice a few times, I think, before.
Oh yeah, of course.
Spot on.
And there it is. No, just cut straight across there. So that you can see that all the ends actually poke out that side of the knot. So as it travels through the rings,
Yeah.
it won't catch.
And it's tapered
That
front
way.
to back, yeah, perfect.
That's it. Obviously this is pretty thick line. Carp fishermen wouldn't be using this. But that'll go through a set of rings, just like just whisper through. Absolutely amazing.
Something interesting you mentioned, you have a little formula for working out the strain of leader you would want to use with a
Oh,
given
yes.
size of lead, say 2, 3, 4 ounces.
Oh yes, ounces of lead
Yeah.
times 10 equals the breaking strain of the shock leader you should be using. Now for sea fishing, 5 ounce lead times 10, 50 pound shock leader. For carp fishing we're using what, 3 ounces?
Regularly 3 and up to 4, 4.5, 5 ounces sometimes.
Well, this is where you want to start thinking in terms of using the heavier duty shock leaders. But for 3 ounces today, 30 pound is just about right. For sea fishing we had this produced a couple of years ago for the sea fisherman, which is a tapered shock leader, which makes life a lot easier. It means that you get a much smaller knot. You can join with 2 uni knots or a double blood knot.
Right.
You get a nice tiny little knot, Now this one tapers from £16 right up to £65, which is pretty hefty stuff.
Yeah.
And that's over a length of 33 feet. The actual taper is about 9 feet long.
Right.
As I understand it, they're now doing the same for you.
So the same firm is doing one for carp anglers. I believe there's 2 varieties available. This one I've got here is actually 12 to 30 pounds. So that's, according to your formula would be ideal for leads up to 3 ounces.
Absolutely ideal.
And they're 10 yards long, so it's 30 feet of line, and there's 5 on the spool there.
Perfect.
And you would recommend those, yeah?
Oh,
particularly for ultimate distance, perhaps.
For ultimate distance, absolutely ideal. And where people are worried about the size of the leader not going up through a set of rings,
of course,
this keeps the size of your leader knot right down to the absolute minimum.
Right.
So you don't have any more worries on that score.
That's great. What I think we need to talk about a little bit, Phil, is some of the actual lead setups we use, and I don't think they're too dissimilar from some of the sea setups you
that's right,
use.
yes. These are actually developed from sea fishing rigs years ago. Obviously they've been refined over the years, but this particular item that you're using here is something that was invented, thought about over 20 years ago. The first chap to write about it, to my knowledge, was Brian Harris in Angling magazine, September 1971, in an article which he did about cod fishing. And the
cod fisherman invented this? No,
yes.
The carp man must have invented something as good as this.
Well, you'd think so. Yeah, the actual rig was invented by Doug Cooper, who was quite a well-known angler of that particular period, and he went on to actually go and work with one of the big tackle companies, helping them develop some of the gear that we're using today.
Right.
But the gentleman who should have the credit for this particular rig is Doug Cooper. And
I'll take your word for it, Phil.
I've got a sea fishing rig here, one that we would use in sea angling, which utilises, as you can see at this end, exactly the same idea.
Exactly the same setup.
Exactly the same setup, except we now use bait clips to enable us to cast long ranges. So there you go.
And you think that's something that we might be
I think
cottoning onto before long?
Cotton onto these a bit later on. This is a bait clip. So once you've got your baited hook there, you hook on, get ready to cast. But when you cast, the bait clip, due to the stretch in the leader, will move.
Yeah.
Like that. And then when it hits the water, it will drop off.
Clever stuff.
One of the reasons why we use this particular type of rig with power gum is if you are fishing in among snags and you hook a fish, then what happens is that will slide down.
Right.
And you will actually hold the lead up and out of the way.
Yeah.
Which carp fishermen, I believe, find quite an important point.
Yeah, absolutely.
To actually hold that out. So if you use a power gum stop knot, this will actually now slide back up if you release the pressure.
Yeah.
But most times you keep the pressure on the fish, and that holds the lead up and out of the way of any snags.
Right.
Anyway, that's a nice little discussion on that particular type of rig.
Right.
There are sliding rigs, but they're not so applicable to long-range fishing.
Right. I would like to add one piece about this. This, as I say, is a commercially available rig which I've altered slightly. You shouldn't use a shock leader with this rig, because if you snap off above the shock leader, the fish can't get rid of that, because the shock leader won't go through that tubing. So you don't want that. So point to bear in mind.
That possibly is where the tapered leader may come in, because a small knot could actually run down that.
It could well go through that if it's small enough.
Yeah, without too much of a problem.
That is another commercially available helicopter rig, where you line threads through the tubing, tie the lead on, push that bit of tubing over the swivel on the lead, and that is very nice for in the middle of the night, whatever. I mean, it's a good rig anyway. I prefer to use the one with tubing, but if you've lost a fish, you quickly want to get another rig out there.
Whack that on.
Whack that on. Hook length goes on there with a swivel. Yeah. Your own hook length, whatever you want to use. Line through there, lead on, in.
Lob it out.
Helicopter rig.
Yep.
Virtually tangle free. Covered a lot of ground into that one.
Do you want me to let him?
You can have a go by all means, folks. It's a question of leaving the net there.
Yeah, and just
let me
pull
pull him right over the lip.
There you go. It's nice and sunk nice and deep. You can stand a bit back as well. Give you a bit more control. You use a high handhold just to give yourself a bit more pressure in the closing stages. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yes. I think he's the biggest one yet. It looks a good size. Because he's got a mark on his back. Grunt and groan job. We've got him! He has.
Oh, that's a good fish.
That is a
That's
beautiful,
a really good fish.
that is a real stonker, that is.
These are
Oh,
a strain
yeah.
of carp called leany fish,
Uh-huh.
which famous for being in red mine. Absolutely gorgeous. That won't be far off 20 pounds, I wouldn't think.
Right, let's get him straight in the waist sling.
23, 2.
£23 2 ounce, fabulous. Helicopter rig, long range fishing, definitely a good thing.
Great.
There are other rigs which are more applicable to short range and stalking fishing. But in the meantime, I think Tim's using the same rig, so I'll shoot off and see what he's
See how he's
doing.
getting on.
£23, can't be bad.
Brilliant.
Magic. Right,
Okay.
all the best.
See you later, Phil.
Right, we're back with you now, Tim. You've had a bit of time to have a play about. Now we've reached the stage where we can get the bait where we want it. And what we want to know now is the reason why. So what we'll cover now is the methods of concentrating the fish, getting them into the area where we want the fish to be, because we happen to know that there's a clear area. So what can you show me now from the carp fisherman's point of view, to go
Well,
with what I've shown you?
Carp fishing's comparatively easy or comfortable when you've got fish close in. It's easy to bait up. It's easy to concentrate your free offerings.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've taught me to cast 120, 130 yards, and people will be looking in thinking, yeah, well, that's all very well, but hook bait out there, what else can you do about it? Because long-range fishing's become a refined art.
Oh, very much so, yes.
With all these different people concentrating their minds on it. And I think the first thing that you need, once you find the spot where you want to fish, you either see fish or you find a bar or you find a clear area in the weed, as we've done here. And the next important item is the marker float.
Something away, mate, in other words.
That's right. Very heavy lead,
Yeah. So that's
running lead, and the marker float is beyond the lead.
Yeah.
And the knot to the float is protected by a rubber bead.
Well, let's just
So
throw
the
it in
knot doesn't get
throw it
down.
in the water at the edge and
Right.
let's just see how it
Just
works.
see how it works, yeah. Nice clear water, so we should be able to pick this up. Just flick it out there.
Lead straight to the bottom.
That's
Bump.
right. Marker float comes up. You pull it into position, then tighten down, and you've got a very visible mark
Splendid.
out at the
Right.
distance you want
So we
it.
throw that out where we want to fish.
That's right.
So that's our marker. We know
Yeah.
now where to aim not only the baits, but also anything to actually attract the fish into the area.
Yeah.
So
And
we've now
I'd
got
just make one other important point there, and that is that you don't want the extra line out there as a rule. So what you do is you get it in position, then you tie a stop knot
yeah.
just into the line with braided line, something like that, just so that when you cast it out the next time to bait up,
Yeah.
you pull it back into position till you stop knots against the
Right,
reel.
So you've got exactly the same amount of line
Yeah,
out.
keep
each
finding
time.
the same spot. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds
Yeah.
excellent to me.
But of
So
course
now
you've
you've got to attract the fish.
That's right.
Right. Let's.
That's right. And this is where the modern gadgets come into play. This particular one, it looks a little bit Fred Carno's, but this is very, very useful for putting boilies out. I've jammed them in.
Yep.
Yeah, putting boilies out. Now this will cast boilies well over 120 yards.
Oh yes.
They fly superbly. Again, we'll just show that in the edge that once it hits the required area, tips up, and they don't all come rushing out at once.
Down they go.
Down they go. You can see them spreading out,
Splendid.
and it does it gradually, so you can pull the spud back bit
So
by
then
bit.
you can get
to spread them around a bit.
a nice
Yeah,
little spread. Yeah, that's excellent. And you can
And-
throw that an easy 120, 130 yards.
flies beautifully.
Just a nice
flies
lob.
beautifully. Yeah,
Right, that's fine.
and of course half an hour's our making effort with that, and you've got yourself a nice little bed of bait
Yeah.
around the
splendid.
marker float.
Which will tend to bring your fish in out of the nasty area, shall we say, and
That's
into
right.
the area where you want to fish, where there are
That's
less
right.
snags.
We'll just look at one other spod. This is the gardener's spod, where if you're wanting to put hemp or groats out as a bed of ground bait, it's not so good for boilies, a bit big for boilies, and really this is sort of limited range, sort of up to 80 yards. But where you're wanting to get a lot of hemp or groats out per cast, that is very, very useful. Very cheap and flies reasonably well, but nothing like as well as the bait rockets that the boys make.
Yes, they're rather nice, those bait rockets. Now, there's something that caught my eye as a sea fisherman. I thought to myself, God, how can I use that?
Throwing sticks are another innovation, fairly recent, and they started off with the bottom end of the old glass blanks, you know, people blocking the end of those.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah.
Started off with straight throwing sticks, and then Nina Sanson came up with the Cobra, the curved one, and this is one on from that, the King Cobra, which I don't know why it took me a little bit of a while to get used to it, but this will throw 18, 20 mil boilies. Well, you've been watching, haven't you?
Well, I've
100, 120, 130 yards.
Shook me rigid, actually. I didn't realise you could fling a small item like that.
That's right.
But the secret, of course, is that it spins it backwards.
Yep.
So it actually climbs through the air, rather like a golf ball.
That's right, like a good 2-iron shot, isn't it?
Absolutely fascinating. Anyway,
yeah.
you'd like to just give us a couple of quick swings.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll chuck her through out towards the bay today. I mean, when you're fishing close in, these things are lovely because you just put like 5 or 6 in and lob them, and you get a good spread around. Obviously, the further out you go, way out there, you're having to chuck them one at a time.
Yeah,
and it's just
spinning.
You know, a short fire is. These are 14 mils. You know, normally your maximum range for those is about 70, 80 yards.
There's no way you could throw that with your hand.
Oh no!
I would say that will throw it further than a catapult.
It will, yeah, a lot further.
Looking at it,
a lot further.
Yeah,
not quite as accurate. You know, you have to get used to them.
But it strikes me from us being here today and working together over the last couple of days that there is a lot that you can teach me, and there's quite a bit that I can teach you. It strikes me that the best thing we could do is to start building bridges again between all the various groups of anglers.
I think we do it. I think we crib a lot of you.
That's
boys.
great. Anyway, it's been a pleasure working with you.
And you?
I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for your help.
Okay, Tim.
All right, good
Cheers,
luck.
mate.
Bye now.